welcome to class. I'm Miss Faust. Please make sure you have paper handy and a pen or pencil so that you can take some notes. Yes, I'm going to cover the two poems today. The one poem by Dudley Randall and then the other one by Robert Hayden. Okay, so are you ready? Do you have your paper available? Do you have that pen or pencil? You do? Good job. This is fantastic. Now remember, I'm leading up to the assignment for today. So make sure you're paying attention and you're writing down some material that may help you. You never know. Okay, so let's get started. Hold on. Let me go and get my paper with the poem. Let's get started with Dudley Randall's Ballad of Birmingham. As I told you last time, it's a pretty known poem, okay? And it is based on a piece of history. Okay. The one thing I should have mentioned last time is Dudley Randall tends to has an interest in history. So some of his work will have something to do with historical figures, historical events, and the like. Okay, so if you like history and you are into poetry, you may enjoy Mr. Randall's poems. Okay? So yes, this is a piece of history. What I had you read for the next essay. Okay. And we're talking about a bombing that took place in Birmingham, Alabama. So sorry. 1963. During the years of the Civil Rights Movement, which basically started in the late 50s, went into the early 1970s. Okay. So this is an event that did take place in 1963. Now, it doesn't exactly go with what you read, but it was an occurrence. It did happen, this bombing, okay, that this poem is based on. Okay, and in this bombing, at the time, they had a bunch of kids. I'm not quite sure. I believe they were all girls. It was like a choir practice time, and so they were practicing for their next singing and the like. Okay, and it was. When the bombing took place, it was, how should I put it? The people who did the bombing, the men that were responsible for this bombing, who down the road, some of them died. It was a small group, but down the road is when it was just discovered that he was part of it. They were very older, and some had passed away and the like. So yes, they didn't exactly pay the price for this, event. Okay. It's possible that they did not expect these girls to be there. Okay. So don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it was. Okay. According to historical scholars and the like. So as I said, there were a bunch of girls in there doing choir practice, and 4 girls were left at the end of choir practice when the bomb went off. They all died, all 4. And then I read just recently that there were some people that were wounded outside the building and the like. About some 21 people were wounded. Okay. At this event. Okay. So yes, again, you have to understand it had to do with, it was connected to the Civil Rights Movement and the tensions, especially in the South. The tensions between whites and African Americans and the like. So quite often, if you look in history books, yes, you may find this event, the bombing of the church, because it was a church, an African American church. Along with, you may find pictures in black and white, of course, because in those days we didn't exactly have color, and in the 1960s. And you'll see police officers with their hoses, these long hoses, just hosing the people running around. trying to prevent them from getting into the police stations or the like, trying to get them away, trying to stop them. And you see people running and slipping, sliding. Oh, excuse me. And slipping, sliding all over the place because of the water. Or they would unleash their dogs and the like. And then, of course, arrests would be made and so on and so on. So you will see that. So that's part of that history. Okay. So we have this poem, again, that Dudley Randall decided to share part of history with his readers. So we ended up with Ballad of Birmingham, again, based on that bombing. Okay, all right, and those girls that passed away. So let's go through here. If you look at Imagery, he's quite colorful. You can let's focus on Imagery really quickly here. You can see the dogs are fierce and wild. That's what I was talking about. Clubs and hoses, guns and jails. Okay, you could sort of imagine those guns will fire. Okay, combed and brushed her night dark hair, bathed rose petals sweet. Imagery, very heavy into the imagery, so you can see it and you may even be able to hear it and smell it and the like. So that's a part of his writing style, Randall's. Okay. And in a way, if you really think about it, it makes an impact when you read this poem. All right. So in the beginning, we have, who do we have? We have a mother and we have a daughter. Okay. So you don't know right away if it's a daughter. It doesn't come till later, in the second stanza. Now remember, each one of these, we're looking at these are all stanzas. Okay, they're like poetic paragraphs, if you could remember that. So we have a number of stanzas. So in the first stanza, we're talking about a child that would like to go downtown and instead of playing, because that's usually what she would do, and the child would do. But she's decided that she'd like to march in a freedom march. There's a freedom march, which was part of those days. Okay. And you might even hear of freedom marches in the recent years, in the last few years too. But again, in the 60s, they had freedom marches where if you look at pictures in history books of the 60s, you'll see African Americans marching down the streets and so on and so on and so on. So she would like to participate instead of going out and playing. Okay, so the child's asking the mother, and you sort of get an idea that it's a girl when the mother says, "Baby, no, baby, no, you may not go." Usually you wouldn't call the boy, "Hey, baby," it's usually the girl more in that like the bond, that emotional bond. So she doesn't want her child to go. There's no way is she going to be going to a freedom march. I mean, those are going to be violent. All right. Because they have dogs, and those are wild, and they're fierce. And yes, the police officers would just unleash them and just let them go. Okay. And that's how they would get some of the people that ended up in the jails. And then, of course, they had clubs. Okay. And yes, the hoses. So you see these humongous hoses, and they're out there all over, in front of the police stations. Okay. And then, of course, the jails. And then you can think of someone like Martin Luther King Jr. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so we got that taken care of. So that's a visual right there. You can see it. It's not exactly a place you'd want a child to go to, is it? All right. So she's thinking, no, this is not a place. Wild dogs, hoses, guns, jails. No. Okay. So the child is going. So the girl is going. But I'm not going to be alone. There'll be all these other people. Other children will go with me, so I'll be fine. And we'll march the streets of Birmingham to make it free. Again, you're talking about civil rights movement in those days. And the mother is coming back with, no, you may not go, because she's afraid And you can tell Randall's trying to say, because again, he's not just making it up out of his head, mind, and stuff. He is basing it on some reality. Okay. This may not have been exact reality of what happened that day. You know, one of the particular girls that died or anything, you know, that passed away that day. But he's coming up with details that are true, in a sense. So yes, she's afraid that the guns, you know, she could get hit, and so. But you know what you can do? You can go to church instead. Okay, and then sing in the choir. All right. So the girl's going, yeah, that's fine. So she, she combs her daughter's hair. She bathes her in rose petal, sweet, really rose petal water. And in those days, instead of going with perfume, you go into the bathtub, water, and put the rose petals in it. You come out and you go, oh, it smells good. Okay. So you can see her combing the hair. Oh, it's nice. It's combing it down. And she puts on nice little gloves. So nice. She's dressed up and really nice. And then nice shoes and everything. And she's just smiling at her child. She's really excited. To know that she's going to be in this really sacred place. The church is very sacred. I mean, who would think that somebody would do something, to a sacred place? But that is, as Randall says, that's the last time she smiles, at her daughter. Because then, what does she hear? Again, imagery. She hears the what? The explosion. So she knows something just happened. And of course she's out there running out there and going. So she's thinking, oh my gosh, what happened? So she's calling for her daughter. And she sees all the bits and pieces everywhere. And so the impact is, how shall we say it, is in the last part. Because what does she find? One shoe. And that's it. Let's see here. So, but baby, where are you? Okay. So she knows that, how should I say it? Let me put that over there. I got all these different places. So she knows that her daughter is gone. Okay. All right. That is basically what this poem is. It's pretty, in a sense, it's self-explanatory. If you go through stanza by stanza, you can get an idea, a piece of history, right? Okay. So when you think about it, with this bombing, we're talking, again, I keep saying it's civil rights movement, because that's what it's all about. It is about the civil rights movement. Equality, that all people should be equal. All right. So you would think, to Randall's mind and the like, you would think that if you send a child to go and sing in the choir in a church, nothing's going to happen there. It's going to be a really safe place, because who would think of bombing a church? I mean, who would do that? But unfortunately, a few men did. Okay? And it didn't matter that it was a church. Okay? It didn't matter whether they thought somebody was there or not. It didn't matter. All right. So yes, her daughter is gone. So you might be thinking, maybe she should have gone to the march, the Freedom March instead. Possibly. Very much possible. Let me see if there's something here when it. No. Okay. That's a good point. Yes, maybe she should have gone in the Freedom March instead of going to the church. Maybe she would have been safer. Okay, but you don't know. So when you look at the theme, and we'll tackle each theme, right? No place is a safe haven against racial prejudice. That is the theme of this poem. Because, again, the church is supposed to be a safe haven. but it's not. If someone wants to destroy something, they're going to succeed. Okay, and this child died. Do you have any questions about Randall's poem? Nope. Then we will move on to Hayden. Let's tackle Hayden. Okay. Oh, sorry. Eat my book. Okay. So let's do those winter Sundays. That last poem does have a lot of impact, doesn't it? It's very emotional. And that is the great thing about the writing. His writing. I'm not so much worried about if it rhymes and the like. I'm more interested in your understanding of it. Okay? So in case you're wondering, should we go over that? The rhyme, the scheme, all this? I'm more interested. Did you understand what he's saying? Do you understand the theme? Can you see it? Pick up the imagery. Can you see it? Can you smell it? Okay? Smell the rose petals and the like. Smell, perhaps to hear the explosion. Smell it. Okay. And yes, there we go. Beautiful music, isn't it? It's great. It's telling me move on, Miss Faust. Okay. So we move on. Okay. So those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. Here we have 3 stanzas. It's a little different, okay, from the last one. The last one does deal with a situation, a real situation, something that can happen. So does this poem. This does not deal with the death of a child, and due to racial prejudice and the like, but it deals with a relationship that in a sense is dead. It deals with a father-son relationship. Okay, now hold on. I'm going to check to make sure I cover that. When we talk about the speaker, you have to understand the speaker here is a boy, but he's an adult now. But he's remembering something that happened when he was a child. So the first 2 stanzas are when he's a child, and he comes back in the end as the adult son. By that time, the father is no longer around. Okay? So yes, there's that relationship, that tense relationship, because there really isn't a relationship. If you go through and try to understand, you'll see that the father worked really hard, and the son didn't understand him. Didn't understand what he was doing for him and the family. So let's look at it. Those winter Sundays. We're looking at the first stanza. Even on a Sunday, we usually say Sunday is a day of rest. After 6 working days, work really hard, even through Saturday. Sunday we rest. Even on that day, he gets up really early, puts on his clothes, and it's very cold out. Very cold out. Okay? And his hands are all cracked, all dry and the like. And they hurt from all the labor he does in the cold during the whole week. And what he does is he more or less warms up the house, fireplace, and so that, everyone else is warm, but he's not. He was cold. He's still freezing. His skin shows it, and he's all cracked and dry. He probably needs a lot of lotion. Okay. And even though he warms up the place for the family, the son realizes, okay, this is a memory from when he was young. But as an adult, he realizes, oh my gosh, we never turned around and said, hey, Dad, thank you. We never thanked the man. Because even though he's the father, does he really have to do this? He could be just like everyone else and be in bed. Wait for somebody else, right? And the second stanza, the son would wake up, and it would be cold, yes, but the rooms would be all warm. Why would they be warm? Because of the father. Because what the father did. Okay? The father would call and say, hey, let's all get up and everything. And he would get dressed. It's so nice and warm. It's toasty. And it's great. Yeah, it's great. Not for the father. The father works hard. Even on the day of rest, he's working. And who understands him? Not a soul. The chronic angers of that house. Yes, when you think about that it's connected to the father. In other words, yes, the father might be really upset, hurt, that nobody understands him. So the son doesn't want to upset him more by being really slow, so he's really hurrying up really quick. I'll just hear him, Dad, hear him. Okay? Because the father is like, what is this? Nobody cares about me. What about me? What about me? So he might be a little upset, a little angry. And we don't want to upset somebody further, do we? As an adult, at the end, speaking differently to him, he never really spoke to his father kindly or warmly or lovingly. Okay? So again, that father-son relationship, it doesn't exist because he didn't understand what his father was doing. And you might think to yourself, kids may not. They're too young to understand what their parents are doing, the sacrifices they're making, okay, to make sure they eat, while the parents may just go, yeah, I'm not hungry, sweetie. You go ahead and eat that. Okay, we're fine. You go ahead and eat. Okay, that kind of work. So he's reflecting all the man had done, all the work, and making sure the house was nice and warm, and so on and so on. And he even polished the boy's shoes. Oh my gosh! I mean, what more do you want? And you never say thank you. Okay, so he never understood love's austere. What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? In other words, severe and lonely, and the jobs that a father does. He never understood. What did I know? He didn't understand. So that's what he's saying. I didn't understand my father, what he was doing for us, for me. Okay? So let me see. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I hit on it. Okay. All right. So he never understood the father's struggles. He is struggling. He's in pain from all the labor, from all the hard work he does all week. He's in labor. And does anybody care? No. Not a soul. And it isn't until the son, and the father by then is gone, it isn't until the son is an adult that he realizes, oh my gosh. It's probably because now it's his turn. He's got children, and he's doing the same thing that his father did. Okay? So yes, he feels guilty. How was I supposed to know? What was I supposed to know about a man who's the father's, what's his job? How am I supposed to know? Yes, he does feel guilt. But isn't it a little late now? Can't do much about the bond. The father's gone. Okay? So yes, it hits always those winter Sundays. Poor man struggles. Nobody seems to care. Not even his son. And it isn't until the son is an adult that he fully appreciates his father. All right. I'm back. Good job. So, theme, I'm sorry, I'm all the way over there, highlights the sacrifices. That's exactly what this poem is doing. Often unseen that parents make for their children. Okay? We could say also, here, as children, we are often unable to understand love's austere and lonely offices. In other words, as children, it's really hard quite often for us to understand what parents are doing for us. The sacrifices. Okay, it's true. Often unseen. We don't realize it. It isn't until we're an adult, and quite often it's when it's our turn, we start realizing, oh wow, that's what mom and dad were doing. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Let me know. Okay. Here's your assignment. For today, paragraph 1, they made 3 questions. The topic: how do the 2 poems show a realistic view of life? How do they show a view of life that is real? It can happen every day. How does Ballad of Birmingham show something that can happen today? And you might be going, oh yes, it happened not too long ago, maybe even a few months ago and the like. Okay. How about those winter Sundays? How does that happen? You might be reflecting your own life. You might be saying, yeah, that's true. I better start saying thank you more often. You might be thinking like that. See, that's what we're talking about. And what I want to add to that is, please make sure you're doing the PA writing formula. You need to use both poems in your analysis. So you might say, well, wait a minute. How do we do that? I'm going to leave that, in a sense, up to you. You may want to focus on 2 questions that deal with Randall and 1 Hayden, or 2 in Hayden and 1 Randall. Or you might say, I'm going to have 3 questions, and all 3 questions will deal with Randall and Hayden, because I found that they have similarities. I found similarities for all 3. I will leave it up to you, as long as you remember that their names, full names, titles, all need to be yes in the first question. Yes, you can do it. In Dudley Randall's and Robert Hayden's, what is the... Okay, so this is your topic. How do the 2 poems show a realistic view of life? Okay, so think about that. Let me see if there's anything else. No, that is it. And I'd like you to answer this. Do you ever take a walk in the park to calm down? Make yourself happy? Do you ever take a walk in the park? If you have any questions, please feel free to consult with me. Okay? So, have a great day. Till next time. Bye-bye.